The Israeli jazz scene is known and recognized around the world, and it is considered one of the major export factors of the Israeli culture. Hi, I'm Yotam Ziv, and together with the Culture Diplomacy Bureau of the Israeli Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the Jerusalem Post, we are very happy to offer you a deeper acquaintance with the musicians themselves. Today, we are delighted to introduce you to Hadar Noiberg, flutist and composer and arranger, and a lot of other things that we will soon get to know. Hi, Hadar, how are you?
Hi, Tom. I'm great. Thank you.
Uh, where are you now?
In New York City. I'm right now in Brooklyn.
A city that you lived for around about 10 years, a few years ago.
15 years, yes.
15,
I lived there for
wow.
15 years.
And then you had lived a few years in Europe, and then you came to Israel? Or I'm getting it wrong?
No, I spent some time in Europe, but I never officially lived there. But with COVID, I kind of came back to Israel. Yes.
So COVID was I wouldn't say excuse, but the reason to go back to Israel?
COVID was the first reason, and then things weren't getting better in New York. Situation was difficult, and both my parents unfortunately passed away in 1 year. So that was the main reason really that I stayed, and then I just built a home there. So it just felt good.
We'll have a few minutes to get to know you and your music better, but let's start with the thing that you are doing now. I mean, in New York and generally.
I'm doing several things now in New York. You know, I feel really connected to the Brazilian scene here. That's one of the things I think that I missed about New York a lot. There's like a lot of great musicians from Brazil living here. So I play like, you know, different scenarios of like Brazilian jazz and even more popular style called choro. It's like an older style, but it's very popular here among the Brazilians in New York. And so it's both like my original material, but also with like the Brazilian flair, and I'm playing some shows. I'm actually playing a show at the Flute Center of New York. That's nice. Me, a flute player from Venezuela, an accordion player from Brazil, talking about rhythms. And then I'm going to Phoenix to teach at okay, that's going to sound really geeky, but it's a flute conference.
Since this is your instrument, it sounds great.
Yeah, they have like, it's the biggest yearly flute, like a National Flute Association, and this year it's in Phoenix, Arizona, and I got invited to teach my self-sufficient flutist class and to play a couple of shows. So I'm excited.
You're as a musician, composer, and in the thing that you do as a musician, your education and the lesson that you give, among the other things, is it half of what you do, third of what you do? I mean, where do you put yourself and describe yourself?
It's a good question, because when people say, oh, you teach, you know, usually there's a specific context to, oh, like you would rather play music, but maybe you need to make more living, make more money, so you teach. For me, it's really not the case. During COVID, you know, that was the way I survived, basically, and it was actually working really well. I teamed up with a teacher in New York, and the idea was to talk deeply about things that are not being talked enough in flute studies.
In flute or generally in music?
Specifically with that teacher, it was really flute all the way. Talking about really from what the throat is doing, and there's a lot of wrong messages when it comes to flute studies. You know, so we came to kind of cut deep and talk about real things. But when I teach my self-sufficient flutist, it's definitely about flute, but it has to be in a context of music, because my idea is, like, I feel like I have a mission with this, because I feel like flute, it's not the only instrument, but flute especially, because sometimes it's like a lighter sounding instrument than saxophone, for example. So sometimes people are like, they think, okay, there's like the rhythm, harmony, everything, and I'm like the icing on the cake. I'm just going to play flute. But the idea for me, you have to be as deep in every musical aspect, like the pianist, like the drummer, like the bass player. You have to have the groove, you have to know the harmony, you know, all of that.
And you feel that the students or the people that you teach doesn't see it in that way?
They see it sometimes, and that's how I grew up also in a very divided, segregated way. Oh, you're a classical flute player, so you work on your tone, you work on your technique, and the harmony is less important. Oh, you're a jazz player, so you work on your harmony and you work on your jazz licks, but maybe how you tongue is less important. And I'm saying, no, they're both very important. So my class, actually, the one thing that makes it different, I think, it's for every musical genre. So one person will play Mozart, one person will play Charlie Parker, one will play Jobim, and it's all in one class. And that's my idea of like
Nice.
how we can learn together.
Let's go back from what you said now to when you were a student. When did you start playing? Was it flute all along? And when did jazz came
creeping
to your
into
perspective?
I started playing a recorder like every good, child in Israel.
But even actually, I did that.
Yeah,
in second grade.
We'll talk about that. No, but my family, they loved music. So my sister, who is 10 years older than me, she used to play flute. So the flute was around the house. So I liked it and I picked it up when I was 10. And then the conservatory told me, you should play trombone. And I said, no, I will play the flute. Can you imagine me, a trombone player? And I always liked to improvise. I remember I had a little keyboard and I was sitting and trying to play some music without knowing what I was playing, songs from the radio. So I think even since high school, I always liked doing both things. Like I went to the Young Philharmonic Orchestra in Israel and I had a funk band. So those things, I think the more freedom they gave me, the more freedom I wanted.
And when I mentioned jazz, so jazz in your childhood was the freedom, or also Charlie Parker and their friends?
Actually, it was freedom because I didn't go to a very like a jazz oriented. I didn't go to Telma, for example, Telma Alim. I went to like a school in Holon. It was great, my hometown. But I feel that because it was so open, I got to experience like salsa and Latin music and funk and jazz. But it wasn't like now you study jazz. So I think the classical world was a bit more what I needed to do. I needed to practice, and my teachers were very, they were pushing me. And maybe jazz and improvisation was a bit of like the place where I felt a bit more myself, I think.
Nowadays, I mean, before you came to New York, you were working on a project that combines classical and jazz with strings and piano and...
Exactly.
So tell us a few words about that.
The music you heard in the beginning also is from that project.
So thank you for mentioning it.
Look at me connecting. No, it's something that I'm still very happy and slightly shocked that it happened because it was, a huge production to bring together in a very short amount of time. I started playing with Katya. I have this thing with pianists.
Katya Tubul, a great Israeli pianist.
Amazing. She's really top. I used to play for many years without a piano, just flute, bass, and drums, because piano can be very overpowering for flute. And I enjoy the space. But when I play with a pianist who's like super sensitive, then it's so much fun. And Katya is unbelievable. So we started playing together. And the music we both make is very lyrical. And one day I said, Katya, what if we had like a string quartet? And she was, like just came up.
And you made the arrangement for the quartet?
I arranged, yes, I did.
I just want to add that when you say you didn't record the piano, you had 3 or 4 records as a leader in Europe or in New York. Where was that?
The band was in New York, but we were mostly touring in Europe, actually, yes. Yeah.
Something else that you want to say that I didn't ask because we are just getting to the end?
I just want to say that, whether it's in the teaching or playing or the social media that I'm doing, because I don't treat the social media just as like my PR. I treat the social media as a place that I really try to build community. I record a lot of like free content where I teach about music and about flute. I just feel very passionate about a community of musicians that can also share about what is not glamorous and what is not successful, and kind of help each other and grow together. And if I can help anyone who's younger than me and I can help them make like better choices for themselves, maybe women also, stand up for themselves and present themselves in a confident way, then I'm really, really happy to do that. So that's why I feel it's a bit the teaching and everything also has to do with that. I feel that's a bit of a mission that I have.
And for that, COVID and the options for doing it online was helping that. You after that, you could meet more musicians around the world and still stay in your home.
Yeah, actually, I started doing online classes before COVID, and that was a really smart move without knowing, because then when COVID happened, everybody wanted to do online, but I already had the class, so, but yeah, I'm talking to you. I'm here, you're there. It's a great
But
place
I
to
hope
connect.
to hear you on a concert live soon.
Yes.
Last question.
Yes.
Where do you see yourself 5 or 10 years from now? I mean, not geographically, but as a musician, arranger, educator, flutist.
So I see myself doing several things. But first of all, I'm more and more picky with what I do, like more and more accurate with what I want and what, I don't feel I'm just, they need flute in the project. I feel like I have a specific sound. So I want that sound to come forward, whether it's music that I'm writing or with other people. And I want to travel with it. I want to go back to Brazil. I want to go and play in Japan. There are some places that I want to visit for sure. And I want to also travel more as in my teaching thing. Like I want to bring flutists together around the world. I want to empower them. I want to go and I want to teach groups like I'm doing now in Phoenix, like I did in Taiwan some years ago. So if everything like that grows in a way that's more and more me, more and more, the classes, everything, whether it's online or not, and the shows, I feel that's enough for me. That's great. I'd be happy.
Sounds great. I hope you will fulfill everything and more. Hadar Noiberg, thank you so much for being with us, and good luck.
Yotam, thank you so much.